And talking about people who actually make history in Miami, we're here with our guest, David Sinopoli. Thank you for joining us today.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for making time in your super tight schedule. This week is
no problem.
Crazy intense for you. You're organizing over 70, or you're involved into like over 70 shows?
I think 51.
51.
51.
To be exact.
Yeah, we counted them up the other day, and yeah, you don't really fully understand that type of, like, I don't really even grasp it until we're in it, and then you kind of take a pan out, and you're like, oh shit, that's quite a lot. But we've been kind of acquiring more work over the years, and with the opening of Jolene and Factory Town now doing 5 shows at once, because we have a warehouse, we have all these micro stages, and all these different labels are now hosting on all these different spaces inside of Factory Town. It just, I don't know, that number shot up pretty quickly.
That's crazy.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah. And do you remember the first Miami Music Week you participated in?
I do. Yeah, vividly.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2011, and I was booking Bardot,
mm-hmm.
The old haunt that used to connect Wynwood and Midtown before Wynwood got fucked. And it was maybe a 6-minute walk away from the Pickle,
mm-hmm.
where really the massive historic moment for electronic music was happening there.
Yeah.
2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. Bardot was just trying to do something alternatively dope alongside of what the Pickle was moving at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably some of the best deep house, sleazy, get lost parties in the back, like the label parties that were going on there. Dixon playing in certain spots, Jamie Jones going back to back with Danny. Like the guys that are now really big or came from an era were all inspired, I think, from the 2009 to 2014 electronic movement that happened in Electric Pickle.
I remember that's more or less around the time where I moved to Miami, 2008. And I remember I interviewed Flume before he played there. And
yeah, he played at Bardot.
At Bardot.
Yeah, that was one of our WMC showcases, was that guy.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of his first interviews for Miami Media.
Yeah.
And he was just telling me how he like was getting into that kind of music, listening to the records from like his neighbor. Like he was a kid.
Yeah, I think he was 19 years old when he played that show.
Yeah, and it's crazy to see how all that time passed.
Yeah, that was that one, and then we had the year after, we had the Young Turks label showcase, where it was Jamie XX, Talabat, One Man, Florence and Machine performed like with Jamie. I remember that happening, and that being like a moment that was really sparked 3 points. Like that little party, I think really was one of the big moments where I knew we were going to do 3 points, because they were Jamie and the Young Turks were so helpful with us for the first couple of years.
What was the thought that it sparked for 3 points? Was it just like, I want to bring all this to Miami?
I had, I don't know if you remember, but like that month before that was the first time XX played in Miami at Fillmore. I think they dropped their album in like 2010, maybe, beginning of 2010, maybe like late 2009, and they still hadn't been to Miami.
Oh.
So I remember when they came in 2012, it was a big moment, and my friend who was their lawyer, who was the agent of Neon Indian that we were close to, introduced us to their managers when they came in February. Mm-hmm. And within a month, we planned the party at WMC. And they were super smart to tell me that the festival, the idea that I was kind of percolating on, shouldn't be anywhere like normal. They're like, you need to go into warehouses, and you need to make it like very industrial, and you need to lean into the electronic side of what you're thinking, because I was kind of more of a rock kid. Mm-hmm. And they also just gave me a lot of validation. I when you have an idea and somebody that is globally recognized as like the trendsetter in indie and electronic music is saying, yeah, that's a good idea and we'd support you, it kind of gave me the confidence to, I don't know, fake it till I make it. Mm-hmm. Like kind of like be like, okay, we're doing this, and not know what the fuck I'm doing, and just, but I know I had faith of people that were really, really established in the industry, and I think sometimes you need that like boost of confidence that like what you're thinking is not just crazy. You're stoned thinking about things in a vacuum, you know?
And now fast forward, you guys just celebrated like I believe your 10th anniversary of 3 Points last year, right?
Yeah.
So you guys had the rare honor of taking a hiatus and still coming back, which, not gonna lie, I think I was very skeptical because it's difficult for people to take a hiatus and come back. But you guys not only came back, like you guys keep coming back bigger. So you guys have braved hurricanes, COVID, obviously.
Zika.
Zika, that's right. Oh my God, throwback.
That shit was crazy. That little red box that the Rick Scott, that piece of shit, put around was right on Wynwood.
That's right.
It was right on top of Wynwood. And then there was people that were having kids at the time. Like James Murphy was having a baby at the time, and he was like, "Dude, I don't know what this is. I can't bring myself. If I bring that back to my wife, like people were canceling on us left and right over Zika."
So I was gonna ask, if you had any, like, what your biggest memories of insane cancellations and having to weather those storms. No pun intended.
The 2016 hurricane that basically was going to land on 3 Points on the Friday. It was a Category 4, I believe. It was Matthew. And you know how we get with hurricane watches and the clickbait and the weather.
Crazy.
Yeah, so we had LCD Sound System reuniting with us for the festival. It was like a big coup because it was our friends and they like agreed to do it. They just reunited at Coachella. We had the best ticket sales we had. And then 2.5 weeks before, the hurricane kind of looked like it was going to hit us. So I think that whole countdown until that moment was just so stressful of like making the right safe decision of either coming and going forward with it. But we didn't have weather insurance because that cost like $40,000 at the time. And we were, basically a festival at that time. So that would have killed us. So I kind of went rogue on my partners and did an interview with the New Times and was just like, hey, we're going to have a hurricane party if it happens. Because in my mind, I always, being a Floridian, always remembered the day after a hurricane doesn't hit you. It's like the best weather ever because all the water goes up with wherever it goes. And I don't know, it never hit us. Like, I don't know if that's being a little bit overconfident, but I was so set in my mind that we were going to have a festival that I went and told the New Times that, and we didn't really have a decision to make after that. We went forward with it. But the first day, it was clean. It was great weather, but no one could get down the state of Florida because of the state of emergency Obama put on the state. So LCD had to go to ACL where they were really making their money. Us was kind of like they were picking up an extra check that was going to cover the cost. They were just being cool about it. The real moneymaker was in Austin. And so the idea of not being able to get out of the state to Austin scared them, so they canceled on the Friday. And I remember when they canceled on us, it was like the day before the festival, and I remember sitting fetal position crying because that's my favorite band in the world.
And you've been booking James Murphy for the longest time.
So I felt like it was fate. Like I really felt like that whole year was like, oh my God, we're getting blessed in this like project. And then for it to be torn away the day before it, and we lost $750,000 that year by just going forward with the festival because so many refunds and so much extra money we had to spend to just get it operational in time. That was the hardest one.
I love you illuminating that because that's the kind of thing that, we don't think about when we just go to the show and have like the best weekend of our lives, which, speaking of, one of my favorite memories at 3 Points was watching that Rosalia headlining set.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And that is like a core memory for me at this point underneath the disco ball. So do you have favorite set memories from 3 Points?
For sure. Nicholas Jar DJing in 2015. He had a 3-hour DJ set in the Black Room, and the AC broke. We had to rent temporary AC in that room because I don't know if you remember, we used to build these huge tubes that would come out of the generators and they would drop in there. And one of the generators busted, and the next generator was up in Fort Lauderdale, and we had to get it down here in time. So the first 90 minutes, it was fucking hot. Like everyone was like sweating, couldn't breathe almost. Like it was, but the core Jar fans stayed. And then 90 minutes in, I was able to get the AC working, and this rush of like cold air came in, and he started playing like this gospel edit at the same time. And I remember being like, oh my God, this is like, it's a euphoric moment. Like he knew what was going on. It kept updating, so he was ready for it because he's a sorcerer. That would probably be like one of those defining things. I mean, the X at Gorillaz was a huge moment. Last year, Fred again, to watch how many people have come together, like from all walks of electronic music, to either observe to see if this is a real deal, and the kids that are the next generation of 3 Points kids that came through the doors that were mixing with the Iggy Pop fans was fucking cool.
That was a bold booking for the 10th year anniversary, and adding Iggy Pop there, as you know, that in the beginning, I know some people were like, oh, it's kind of weird. It makes sense for Miami.
Miami, yeah.
And I thought that was perfect for a 10-year anniversary lineup. But like, how was, that decision of, calling Iggy Pop as a headliner?
I think it was pretty easy for me because of our mission of always having, 50 to 60% of the lineup being Miami. Like on our 10th year to have a Miami headliner. I also struck out on a lot of like rock bands that I thought I had for last year. We had Deftones locked in, and then that didn't work out, and then a couple things just kept falling out that really would have diversified the top line, because Fred and Skrill were just too electronic commercial for me. Mm-hmm. So I was like, if I'm not going to get the lineup I want on the top line, like for me, just as a curator, hey Francisca, how you doing? I was just going to kind of do a fuck you moment to it. You know what I mean? Like put something up there that was like, what the fuck? And keep our curatorial edge. And if people didn't get it because they don't understand the context of 3 Points, then those are the new people that are coming to buy tickets to Fred anyway, and they'll get it when they get there. So I really didn't, we kind of, it didn't really make sense to my partners in Live Nation too. They were looking at me like, I kind of got, it kept coming up. Mm-hmm. it was like a running joke with people, like this guy booked Iggy Pop, it'd be on a primary electronic thing, but for me, we don't know how much longer we have that man.
Exactly, and he's been such a staple, not only for everyone that is a rock fan, but in Miami too. He's 100%. Very involved. So that was great.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about 3 Points is like, I was also always a rock kid, and I love at 3 Points, that I get exposed to all the stuff that isn't what I would usually go to, while getting to see some of these acts that I want to go see. And so part of that is that you've kept a priority on showcasing local Miami talent and local Miami bands.
For sure.
Can you talk a little bit about that, why that is a priority for you with a festival that's on a global stage at this point?
Because that's where we come from, right? If it wasn't for that scene and our scene, there would be no global festival opportunity. So the second you forget where you come from, you fall. Like you look at Bonnaroo, like, God bless it, it's a good festival, but it's not what it was. And same with Lollapalooza. I mean, I'm not throwing shade at Coachella, but like I went many years where it moved me in a way that inspired many things I'm doing in my life right now. And now I go and I'm very, I get nothing from it. I really get nothing from it outside of the few shows that I want to see. Despacio when it was there, and then a couple moments where you kind of observe the culture more. But for us, I just thought that if we didn't continue to do that mission during the process, then we're going to be, we'll lose point of where we were and why we did this. And I think it's really interesting for me, like as I travel, I like to go to spots where people show me local things, right? And I want to go to the local clubs. I want to go see like the actual, I don't want to go to places that, websites are telling me. I'd love for a local to show me like, hey, this is what's really good. This is where you go get records. This is where you go eat. This is a great coffee shop. And I think 3 Points is uniquely like you can walk in there and really feel Miami at the time. You're literally in the Miami streets. You're walking around Miami culture. You can run into many Miami bands that are watching their friends perform, right? So it's not even just, it's the 500, 600 kids that are playing our festival that are supporting their other homies that are playing the festival. So it gives a nice like dynamic of, oh, this is what Miami feels like in this given year. And I think that's become a unique selling point of the festival too.
And looking back a little bit, you started booking bands at Bordeaux, and since then, you've come such a long way. How did it feel when you got involved with Space, when you were actually able to, get involved in such,
an institution?
Huge institution?
Yeah.
How did it feel for you?
Stressful. I didn't really know what we got ourselves into. I was more leaning on the indie electronic side, and Davide and Coloma, my two partners at Club Space, were definitely more deeper in the culture at Trade and The Pickle and Treehouse, and all of the work that they did, I think, was more aligned with the bookings that would go down at Space.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been to Space twice before I was the owner of it.
Oh.
Because the first time I went in 2013 after 3 Points, it was the first year we actually went there afterwards. It was run differently, and it kind of gave me a weird energy. Like, I was just like, oh, that's not, that after hours vibe is not for me, because it felt like the vibe was like, oh, I ended up at Space, or like a lot of like aggressive energy was there at that moment. So I was kind of stressed because I was really tied into the bottom floor. Like, I liked what was going to be the ground, which was a live music venue that was tied to me, my work at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Floyd reminded me of Bordeaux, like a dark, like weird sequel. And I felt like at the end of Bordeaux, we were doing a lot of electronic music that could work in that setting where you just have a bar and a dance floor and a really proper sound system. So I was like, okay, these two rooms I could really dive into and help, but like I didn't fully understand what Club Space was to the community until we really started operating it and turning it around. And then before I knew it, I was like fully immersed in it, so I didn't really have a lot of, we got it kind of like pirates in the middle of the night. We didn't really think about the process too much. We just got in there, and so I it kind of blacked out, and I was definitely overwhelmed and stressed at that moment until I fully understood like what we were doing, and by that point we were already in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how do you see, Miami now, like with Miami music scene,
And Miami Music Week.
And Miami Music Week going through so many changes, but you being, a very central part of it nowadays. So how do you see it?
Miami Music or Miami Music Week?
Miami Music Week.
Well, it's a funny title, right? Because there's not really that much Miami music on Miami Music Week. Winter Music Conference sounded a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But I don't think there's much to Miami Music Week other than party, like different levels and different frequencies of partying, different cultures from different parts of the world coming in and just really pushing forward their sound. And I think the sound a lot similar than they ever did. So, there are really minor differences in some stages or some labels that we do. But I think it's still a really positive, majority really good for the city, and I think it's really good for our economy and for the kids that work with us that are able to work and make more money, for the bartenders that work with us that are able to make more money, the servers, my managers, like my security, everyone's making good money. So I really am happy that we have that boost in our economy. So do I get inspired by this like I used to when WMC? Not so much anymore. But there's still moments. You can catch your moments and you can catch your things. It's just not as, it's very wide with the other stuff right now.
It sounds like maybe you get those moments of inspiration from like curating 3 Points then.
For sure.
And the experience of the festival.
Or just watching the new generations of Miami curators and what they're doing. Like, the people that are putting on shows right now in Miami is not really us. We're like kind of like custodians of venues at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We have our moments where I'll curate certain things. Like, I have a party called My Friend Misty that I do every 6 weeks where we're doing this Sunday. But really it's the people like Sister System and Kate does this thing called Suero, which is like with Nick Leone, and DJ Python, which is super sick. And it's a different it's a whole different energy and a whole different vibe. And the guys from Jezebel do the ass parties. Like, there's so much happening in Miami that wasn't happening when we were coming into the scene, that I get inspired by the next few generations that are putting things on right now.
Awesome. And I know it's very early in the year, but is there anything that you can share about 3 Points, what's going to happen this year, what things you have cooking?
We're definitely cooking, but I don't think it's going to be as commercial as last year when it comes to the headliners. Not that it was bad. Yeah, not that, like, Fred was sick. Fred's going to be, he did a lot for our growth. But I think we have something massive lined up, and it's going to be definitely for the heads. And it's going to be complemented with a lot of the electronic music that does really well right now in the Miami Music Week vortex. But I think we're going to have a lot to put our teeth into of, like, the OG 3 Points. People will be really happy with what we were able to put together for the 11th year. And we should be announcing something the week after Coachella. I think we'll put out our first phase after 3 joints. And we'll put out the second phase in June.
You did your job, because I am so curious right now.
Nice.
Can't wait to see the lineup.
Nice.
Awesome. And any other projects you are working on that you would like to share? Anything?
Besides the 51 shows.
Yeah, besides that.
Jolene, if you haven't been to Jolene, it's getting better every week. It's a kind of like a work in progress. Super cool, soulful house disco sound room that's 2 floors underneath the Julian Henry's spot over there on Flagler in downtown. We have Traumer there tonight. He's dope. Chase West there tomorrow night. We had Bedouin last night. It's a cool room, and a really good cocktails from the guys from the Broken Shaker and my partners on it. We have a new venue opening up soon. It's an old venue that we're basically doing what we did at Space, where we grab an old venue that the community loved and try to bring it back to life and not fuck it up. Keep its roots proper and not hire back the whole staff, and just put proper money behind it so it can stay on its 2 feet. Because there's some venues in the city that close for no fucking reason other than bad operations.
That's right.
That's true.
And that's coming from an operator. Like, some people don't know why we have lost certain venues, and they blame real estate, or they blame, it's all bullshit. It's that this city had some amazing venues that were operated by irresponsible people. And they didn't know what it meant to the community to hold on to those venues. And they failed, because if you are not managing your spot right, you're not paying your employees right, you're not paying the bands right, you're not paying your insurance or keeping your code or looking at what's happening with your real estate and developing a relationship to stay in there. We lose places like the Pickle, like Bardo. There's no reason Bardo shouldn't be open right now, but it isn't. Okay, Rosas, Churchill's, like, Space was going to close. So we, as operators, like the operators that are in the city that really love the city, Adam from Gramps does an amazing job. He gets his hands on things. The guys from Lost Boy do a really good job. They get their hands on things. They keep them in business. I think that's something that we have to get better at as a city, is really operating our venues better and keeping them open, because there's no reason we shouldn't have more venues in the city.
Yeah, definitely. And especially also now for live bands too.
100%.
That we definitely need that.
Severely lacking.
Well, this next spot will have that.
Awesome.
We'll have a focus on that. And I don't want to give too much away, because we're not going to really publicize it. We're just going to open it and make sure that the community knows that we didn't fuck it up. And let them come in, let them act like, okay, the Space guys didn't ruin this spot. And, after a couple months or so, we'll start getting really cooking with nice shows that locals can put on their own shows, and have a venue that they can trust, that they can take the door on, that they can learn their first, it'll be a development stage before they go to bigger spots like the Ground or 3 Points or Fillmore, whatever ends up happening.
Perfect. And I have one last question for you, before we let you go to your super busy week. But actually, in the cover of our scene, we have Francisca that is here. And she's at Space, posing next to her mural, that it's an amazing stairs. Right. And how did you come up with the idea of, inviting her to create this piece? I
don't remember all of the workings. I think the the work that we did before kind of brought us closer and closer together. We worked with Richie hell a lot on his shows through 3 Points, and I got to know them a lot, and then know the intricacies of his show and how involved Francisca was on that, and like a very inspirational couple. Something that I could feel the love coming from their work, you know, that was very intertwined and super unique and very Miami forward. And at the more that I got to understand how she sees things, it's very historic and spiritual. Like the proposal we got on these stairs was fucking crazy. It was like Chinese and Egyptian like history lesson on what stairs mean and what our portal meant, our little dance portal we have up there meant. And I remember me and Coloma looking through it, and we were like, well, we have to do it now. It's like we're going to be fucking cursed if we don't. We get the sacred information and don't do this, we're fucked. So we had to find the money to do it because we were rushing to do it on a WMC, right? We were opening up on a Miami Music Week. Yeah, we put the pressure on her to get it done.
I think it turns 2 years, right? Today.
Yeah.
Today turns 2 years.
It was, and it was also, was it an equinox? It was something was happening on the day we opened it. What was it? A new moon. Yeah, it's 888 Stargate, right? Yes. So there was a lot of, and she can speak to it a lot better because there's so much symbolism on those stairs that people don't even know they're being absorbed. And the pulsating of lights and the idea that you're coming in and coming out of this place is a very transcendent thing. And we're really, really grateful that we have it. It's something that organically came together. It's from Miami. It's people that we really love and care about. So it's perfect. It's now a signature piece of our whole operation.
Luckily for everyone here, we have an interview with Francisca in the Zine, and she talks a little bit more about her process. So definitely pick that up. Support Dale Zine while you're here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David.
No, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks for our live audience for being very quiet.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
We didn't expect that, so thanks.
Thank you.